need 3 volunteers. Now, the first 2, any good, solid men are fine. But for the third one, I need a genuine tough guy. You do have a tough guy, don't you? Is there a tough guy? Okay, so let me get number 1, ordinary man, good man. Right? Yes, sir. What's your name? Daniel. Come on up here, Daniel. Just stand there for a minute. I want everybody to see you. And I need another good, solid guy. Yes, sir. What's your name? Eugene. Stand up there, Eugene. Now I need a genuine tough guy. You got any recommendations? Who do you think? All right, what's your name? Daniel. Okay, Daniel. Daniel's a tough guy. Now, here's what happened. They brought 6 wagons and 12 oxen. And they gave them to Moses, and they said, God said, these are for the sons of Levi to use in their service. We're going to divide it among them. There are 3 families. Gershon, Daniel number 1, you're Gershon. And it's Eugene, right? You're from Oregon. Eugene, you're going to be Merari. And Daniel, tough guy, you're going to be Kohath. Now, you got 6 wagons, you got 3 families. How many wagons do you think you'd give to each family? 2. So it starts off, they give 2 wagons, 4 oxen to Gershon. Then they gave 4 wagons and 8 oxen to Merari. And they gave Kohath nothing. Behind the curtain here, there's a couple of wheelbarrows. Gershon, get a wheelbarrow, and there's some blocks. Put 2 blocks in it, would you? Merari, go ahead and get a wheelbarrow. There's another one. Put 2 blocks in it. There's 6 blocks on a hand cart. Kohath, you just get 2 blocks. You don't get a wagon. You got a burden, but you don't get a wagon. But he's a tough guy. It'll be fine. So, come on out, guys, and Kohath, you just got to carry him, man. Just come on out here. Let me see what you're doing. So we note the resources. And just go ahead and march around like you're going across the desert. You doing okay, Kohath? Yeah, he's a tough guy. He's fine. Now, we won't be completely literal because it said in the Bible they bore him on their shoulders. Now, the resources were divided unequally. 2 wagons for Gershon, 4 wagons for Merari, none for Kohath. The resources were divided unfairly. Why in the world would Kohath get no wagons? And Merari got 4 wagons. You keep on going so long, you got 40 years. They were divided unreasonably. They were divided unfairly. They were divided unequally. Wonder why. Imagine that you're Kohath. Merari and Gershon, they walk along next to wagons. Maybe keep a hand on it and make sure it doesn't get disturbed. You're doing good, Kohath. You're way ahead of the other 2. They got wagons and they can't even keep up with you. Wonder how they felt walking across the desert. Kohath sweating to death, the burden on his shoulders, his back bent, his muscles strained, his breath coming sometimes in ragged gasps. And Merari and Gershon have wagons. You know, this is a tough area to live. You have terrible government. Thanks to they can't even park their car in their own driveway. It's illegal. And, of course, if they had a license plate on it, it'd probably be better. You've got ridiculous costs of housing. The traffic is terrible. The crime is out the roof. And you look at people live in Arkansas. Man, they got it made. It's nice. It's quiet. Things are cheap. There's no crime. But God called you here. God said, I'm going to give you some things to carry, but you got to carry them on your shoulder. Everybody has something they have to carry on their shoulder. Don't care how much money you have. You've got an illness that no money can repair. You've got burdens that no amount of finances could alleviate. Everybody's got something they have to carry on their shoulder. And everybody that does looks around and sees somebody else with a wagon. Gershon, how you doing? That's good. Mararak, how are you? Kohath, how's it going? See me in 40 years, all right? One day, a man called us up. He said, you know, we're supposed to get $12 million, and he was certain of it. It was all guaranteed he was going to get it. He said, I spoke to the man who's giving us the money. He's going to give you some money, too. This was October of 1977. I said, well, thank you. He said, would you like to know how much money he's going to give you? I said, yeah. He said, he's going to give you $725,000. That's not bad money now, but it's a lot of money in 1977. And I thought, what would we do if we had $725,000? Man, I bet you we'd buy some property. We only had 2 acres. We'd build another auditorium. We'd start a Christian school. We'd hire a principal. We'd hire some staff members. We'd build some buildings for a missionary. Yeah. We're going to get $725,000. I thought that was great. Going to get some wagons. He grew up in Texas. His daddy was a drunkard. Mama was godly. Poor as he could be, the kids made fun of him in school. Got saved at an early age. One day, they had a Christmas party in town. And he went to the party, and he was the only boy there that did not get a present. He came home, his mama said, Frank, is there a present for you? No present for me, Mama. Well, there should have been. No, Mom, I'm sorry. No present for me. I was the only boy there, didn't get a present. No wagons. Other people had wagons. Kohath, how you doing? So hot. Now, why? What are the reasons that Kohath didn't get any wagons? Well, I'm going to give you some supposed reasons. Maybe Merari cheated him. Merari took the 2 wagons that should have gone to Kohath and he kept them for himself. Maybe. Or maybe there's something wrong with Kohath. Maybe Kohath doesn't have a CDL. Doesn't have a driver's license. He didn't get a wagon. Or maybe God loves Gershon and Merari more than he loves Kohath. That's what we do. We either blame others, we blame ourselves, or we blame God. Why do I have this burden? Why do I have this trial? Why do I have this difficulty? Why do I live in a place where there's so much oppression and so much against me? Now, hang on a minute, Kohath. You doing all right? That's a mighty nice suit. I don't want you to sweat all the way through it. I think y'all get the idea, right? Okay, you can put them on back. Thank you. Give them a hand. They did a great job. And we look around. I wish I had their health. I wish I had their intelligence. I wish I had their ability. Wish I had that job. Wish I could live in that house. Wish I had a better situation. But I didn't get any wagons. I went to the party, but there wasn't any present under the tree for me. By the way, would you like to know how much of the $725,000 we so far have received? We are short only $725,000. Don't feel sorry for us. We only lost $725,000. The other guy lost $12 million. But I wonder really why They didn't get any wagons. We can suppose God didn't love them as much. We can suppose that there was something wrong with them. We can suppose that somebody took advantage of them. But let's look at the scriptural reasons. Would you do that with me? Turn back in the book of Numbers to chapter 3. Verse 25. And the charge of the sons of Gershon in the tabernacle of the congregation shall be the tabernacle, the tent, the covering thereof, the hanging for the door, the tabernacle of the congregation, the hangings of the court, the curtain for the door of the court, which is by the tabernacle and by the altar round about, and the cords of it for all the service thereof. Gershon carried all the cloth, the coverings, the curtains, the tent. Go on down to chapter 3 and verse 36. And under the custody and charge of the sons of Merari shall be the boards of the tabernacle, the bars thereof, the pillars thereof, the sockets thereof, all the vessels thereof, all that serveth thereto, and the pillars of the court round about, and their sockets, and their pins, and their cords. So they carried the posts and the poles, the ropes that went with them. Since we're near Silicon Valley, we'll tell you that Gershon had the software and Merari had the hardware. But now go to chapter 4 and verse 14. I'm sorry. Let's go to chapter 4 and verse 4. This shall be the service of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation about the most holy things. They carried the most holy things. When the camp setteth forward, Aaron shall come down and his sons, and they shall take down the covering veil and cover the ark of testimony with it. And they shall put thereon the coverings of badger skins, and shall spread over it a cloth wholly of blue. And they shall put in the staves thereof. They carried the tabernacle, which was the dwelling place of God, the most holy piece of furniture in all of Israel. It was so holy, only one man could go into the place where it was, and he only once a year. And they had a rope around his ankle lest he offend God and die, and they could drag him out without offending God by going in there. They couldn't even touch it. They had rings around it. They put poles in the rings and carry it. They wrapped it carefully and carried it on their shoulders. And verse 7, upon the table of showbread. Thereon the dishes, the spoons, the bowls, the covers to cover withal. The continual bread shall be thereon. They shall spread upon them a cloth of scarlet, and cover the same with a covering of badger skins, and shall put in the staves thereof. See how precise, how careful, how extensive were the instructions to Kohath in carrying the things they carried, because they carried the most holy things. Verse 9, they shall take a cloth of blue, cover the candlestick of light, and his lamps, and his tongs, and his snuff dishes, and all the oil vessels thereof, wherewith they minister unto it. And they shall put it in all the vessels thereof, and a covering of badger skins, and put it up on a bar. And upon the golden altar they shall spread a cloth of blue, and cover it with a covering of badger skins, and shall put to the staves thereof. And they shall take all the instruments of ministry, wherewith they minister in the sanctuary, put them in a cloth of blue, cover them with the covering of badger skins, and shall put them on a bar. And they shall take away the ashes from the altar, and spread a purple cloth thereon. And they shall put upon it the vessels, all the vessels thereof, wherewith they minister about it. Even the censers, the flesh hooks, the shovels, the basins, all the vessels of the altar. And they shall spread upon it a covering of badger skins, and put to the staves thereof. You see, Gershon had the cloth. Merari had the wood, the poles. But Kohath had the most holy things. Things that represented God's relationship with man, man's reconciliation to God, man having a right relationship with God, the dwelling place of God. God said, you wrap it up carefully, you put it on a bar, you be good with. These are the most holy things. And I want you to know the real reason Kohath didn't get any wagons was not because there was something wrong with them. And it was not because somebody had taken advantage of them. And it was not because God didn't love them. What they had was too valuable to be bouncing around in the bottom of a wagon. It was God's holy things, and they carried it on their shoulders. Don't be upset if God asks you to carry some things on your shoulders. So, let me give you a few reminders based on that. Now, usually when I get to the reminders, I'm at the end, but I got another point after that. Number one, God is holy. Do you know they treated these things with such respect because they represented God? Because one was the dwelling place of God. You know, the Masoretic scribes that copied our Old Testament, when they came to the name of God, would stop. They'd remove all their clothing. They'd bathe their entire body. They'd put on fresh clothing. They'd pick up a fresh quill. They would write with great care the name of God. Then they would put down that pen and take off their clothing and bathe and put on fresh clothing again and take a fresh quill. And never one time spoke the word, the name of God, out loud, because it was too holy to be on the lips of man. God's holy. Now we pay extra money so HBO can curse him on our televisions. Number two, second reminder. Special work requires special effort. You'd put this church any place in America, it'd be a great church. But in San Leandro, California, it's incredible. And you give the lie to the idea that you can only reach people if you compromise. Gotta speak like the world speaks, gotta have music like the world has, gotta have a smoke and mirror show. Can't confront people about their sin. Well, you believe that if you want to, but the Heritage Baptist Church sees people saved every week the old-fashioned Bible way. And they do it in one of the toughest parts of the country. Yeah, you get to bear it on your shoulder. Special work requires special effort. You know how you make an impact? Not by pushing the wheelbarrow. Not by walking next to a wagon. But by accepting gracefully and gladly the things God gives you to carry on your shoulder. God is holy. Special work requires special effort. No wagons doesn't mean no love. I imagine if anybody felt favored of God in that bunch, it wasn't Gershon who carried the cloth in a wagon, or Merari that carried the poles in a wagon. But Kohath, who had the privilege of carrying on their shoulders the most holy things. And here's the last thing in our reminders. Extra burdens are an extra blessing. Some of you know my brother-in-law, Dr. Doug Jackson. My wife's sister Kathy and he are married. They serve across town from us. They have two beautiful twin girls. One is with them on their staff. The other with her husband runs Camp Kobiak. And they have one son, Clint. If you look at my newer solo CD, if you look at the back, you'll see a picture of Clint. Every Sunday night, Clint gets out my original CD and sings to it. In fact, he does it throughout the week. And his mom says it's a real worship experience for him. See, Clint has Down syndrome. He's 40 years old. He can't write his name. He can't read. Probably couldn't tell you how to spell his name. He's a great kid. He ushers at their church. He stands there with a plate, and if you don't put anything in, he looks at you and shakes it. You could use some ushers like that. One time, a little while ago, the lady was about to sing a solo, but the introduction was quite long, and Clint thought she ought to have been singing already. And he said out loud in church, "Sing it, Hot Lips." Clint can't tie his shoes. Clint will never drive. Clint will never get married. You can imagine the adjustment, the surprise, having a child like that born in your family. But I remember sitting there in their living room some years ago. Clint's on the floor. Clint's one of the sweetest, most loving people you'll ever meet. And Clint was on the floor smiling, doing something. And I remember Doug looking at Kathy just as the phone rang. Don't feel bad. I thank God that I speak with cell phones more than ye all. Yet in the church, I'd rather speak 10 words on it. Well, never mind. And Doug looked over at Kathy and smiled. And he says, "Isn't he a blessing?" Everybody knows Clint loves him. Extra burdens are an extra blessing. So, what do you do about the things where you don't get any wagons? How do you respond? Well, you can respond with rebellion. People do that. Trial comes, something to bear on their shoulder, they get mad, they turn away from God, they quit church. Why, if that's the way God's going to treat me, I'm just going to go off and live for myself. You can do that if you want. You can respond with resentment. Yeah, must be nice, you people with the wagons. Must be nice, just walk down the desert sands and pat your load on the back and hang on by the side. Must be nice, not having to carry everything on your shoulder. Don't know why I got this burden. Don't know why I have this cross to bear. Don't know why life is so difficult. Don't know why I'm in this hard area. You could respond with resignation. Some people get to this place and they think they're pretty good Christians. Well, you know, that's just the cross I have to bear. That's just the way it is. You know, it's all right. I'll survive. But you could respond with rejoicing. You know what? We never got our $725,000. Not a dime of it. But we bought property. We now have 52 acres. We built that building we wanted to build and a couple of others. Now have a nice 2,000-seat auditorium if you count the balcony. We started churches for several missionaries, built buildings for them. We started the school in 1978. Some 200 young people have gone out into the work of God out of our church and school, they tell me. We went ahead and hired the staff. And you know, when I left as pastor of First Baptist Church of Bridgeport, the largest single gift that was ever given at one time to our church was $18,000. And my wife and I gave it. And I'm glad. Because God said, look it, I'm not going to give you a wagon. Nobody's going to say this rich guy or that rich guy built your church. No, I'm going to let you bear it on your shoulder. Praise God. You know, Frank told his mom he didn't get a present. Knock at the door. He really was J. Frank. He had a cousin named Frank. His cousin knocked at the door and he said, "Hey, I got J. Frank's present by mistake." His mama said, "Son, I knew there's one present there for you. I put it there." He opened it up. It was a cheap little New Testament. She said, "Son, you're going to preach that book around the world." And J. Frank Norris became pastor of the First Baptist Church in Fort Worth, Texas. Saw it grow to crowds of 10,000 on a Sunday night. Pastored at the same time in his latter ministry, the Temple Baptist Church in Detroit. Went back and forth from Detroit to Fort Worth, first on a train, then on an airplane. Built the Temple Baptist Church from 700 to several thousand. His influence is still felt in our movement today. See, if you're going to just pastor a church and do an ordinary work, you can put a wagon alongside of you and carry your stuff in it. But if you're going to pastor two of the greatest churches in the world, at the same time and influence generations for the cause of Christ, well, you got to carry that on your shoulder. No wagons for the journey across the desert sand. No help to bear my burden. Is this what God has planned? While others have some oxen to help them down the road, must I upon my shoulders lay all my heavy load? Those who have the wagons enjoy more of God's grace. It seems that he has favored them and hid from me his face. Why else would they provision for ease and comfort share? Will I without assistance my grievous burdens bear? While others' work brings praises and garners men's applause, seems I've only critics as I work for his cause. My converts are not welcome, my labor is unknown, yet those who have the wagons great gratitude are shown. Does God my work not value? Has he left me alone? Is there not good or merit in that which I have sown? Am I without a wagon and so without his love? No credit for my effort on earth or heaven above? Oh, no. 'Tis not a punishment that makes me toil so. It's not the absence of his care that bends my shoulders low. It's not that he's abandoned me or that my work is vain, that makes the heavy burdens on my shoulders to be laid. I see it now more clearly. The opposite is true. The work is great and sacred God has given me to do. My burden's too important to bounce on rutted roads. My work requires special care. It's such a precious load. I'll shoulder then my burden with joy and gratitude. Be grateful for the extra work and with heart and soul renewed. Accept the extra effort with pleasure and delight, remembering that everything my Father does is right. But wait, a revelation as I my burden lift. The fact that I've no wagons is actually a gift. So with a sweet acceptance my burden I embrace and find I need no wagon, for he's given me his grace.